Hi, welcome to my lecture series. In this video, we are going to focus about Viva for PhD program. People call it as Viva Voce. For a simplistic and an easy to understand, let us term it as Viva. So what is Viva? Viva is nothing but an oral assessment for an academic qualification. In a PhD, your fate to receive your doctoral degree depends upon your success in Viva. So in Viva, we have got like three categories: one-to-one Viva, closed Viva and open Viva. So let us concentrate on closed Viva, where one candidate defends to the panel. I always call it as in psychological war, attitude plays an equivalent role as knowledge. Thus, if you notice, the core element of Viva is the starting point. The starting point is nothing but the presentation of your thesis. This video, I'm not going to give you any advices or any tips. I'm sure you have listened to many tips and many motivational stories in YouTube. I'm now going to disguise myself as a candidate and do a presentation in front of you. Sorry, in front of my camera. I'm taking a very big risk now, because without a solid thesis in my hand, without a proficient knowledge in particular topic, without anyone to listen me or to observe me or to question me, I have decided to mock myself and then to do a Viva in front of you all. Just for your understanding, I have tried many alternatives to make one understand how a Viva presentation has to be done. But I felt finally that there is nothing more than engaging myself and mocking myself to do a Viva presentation, so that you can learn much better, you can observe how it happens. And please note as a disclaimer that this topic which I am going to present now is not a thesis. It is something which I did for a research publication. I have amplified the results through SmartPLS for the largest sample size, and I have arrived at a conclusion. Whatsoever, your take home is not the content. Your take home is the flow of presentation. It's a 30-minute presentation. I have given some captions below each and every slide. So if you're going to have your Viva in coming days, please make sure that you listen this full video. Please exclude my content, my style of speaking, the mistakes I do in pronunciation, because those are my weakness. You have to observe the structural flow of a presentation, that how I relate the first slide to the second slide. That is, what is the coherence between the each and every slide and how I'm connecting towards it is the most important point that should be your take home. I will start the presentation now. Assume I'm doing my final Viva. Assume that my external examiners are listening what I'm presenting now. And here it goes. Good morning, Chairman, professors, examiners and the secretary. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to present today my research title. Today is the most important and awaited day for me. I have been working with this title for the past 4 years with the hope to submit and defend successfully. With the best of my knowledge, I have done the research adhering to the methodology law and also with the multiple scrutinies in the university. However, if there are any suggestions and comments, I will be very glad to take it as a correction. End of the day, our entire motive is to improvise the thesis, and I look forward corrections from you all. Without taking much time, let me start going to my thesis title now. The research title is Investigating the Effects of Income Tax Changes on Economic Growth, Predictive Analysis on Malaysian Tax System, and my name is Valiappan Raju. This is my research title. This is my research particulars, a complete overview of my entire thesis. The stream is macroeconomics, the substream is finance, the industry is banking. The reason is because I am taking taxation as one of my main components, so the industry is banking industry. The problem is irrational tax rates, which means the tax rates are not being rationalized. That's the reason of this entire research. That's the foundation of my research, which I'll be explaining the problem statement, and then I'm using theory of optimal tax as my theory. It's an applied research. The design is retrospective prospective, where I'm comparing the old tax regime and then how is it being presently being practiced. So it's retrospective prospective. Concurrent mixed mode is my research method, and I'm using questionnaire as my instrument, and I also used focus group to interview. So it's a mixed mode. Stratified random sampling technique is a sampling technique, and the geography of data collection is Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I'm using SmartPLS 3.3, the latest version, for my analysis. And I've done structural modeling and then structural equation modeling, which comprises multivariate analysis. So hypothesis testing is being done as main part of my research analysis. The philosophy is pragmatism philosophy, and appendix have attached the questionnaire publications. My thesis has covered like 65,000 to 70,000 words, and plagiarism is less than 15%. To start with, let me just explain my title, and I'm breaking my title into 5 elements to make it much easier to understand. So I've got my first thing is investigation. So this research is an exploratory research where I'm not trying to explain, I'm not trying to describe. It's an investigative research on the effect of income tax changes on economic growth. So the third line is very important here. I will try to still break this third line into 2 parts, income tax changes as part A, economic growth as part B. So the effects on part A on part B, which is effects of economic income tax changes on economic growth. And then the analysis, predictive analysis, which I'm doing for the foreseen, the futuristic analysis is what is being done here. So the entire title is to investigate the effect of income tax changes on economic growth. Introduction part, I would like to quote how it has been happening, the tax regime in olden days and compared to now, to make us all easy to understand here. There are 3 most important and ancient epics in the world, is we say from China, India and Persia. These are the very famous and then very popularized ancient epics. So in China, there is a kind of they are pioneers for taxation, where they have been fixing like 1/10 of the income has to be paid to the government. So a farmer has to pay 1/10, which is like 10% they have to pay to the government as per their epics, as per their ancient philosophies. And in India, we have got something called Manusmriti. The book says like 1/5 has to be paid by the traders and artisans. Artisans are called as skilled laborers. And then agriculture has to pay 1/6. If they earn 6 bags of rice, 1 bag has to be going to the government. So it's 1/6, which is like 16%, and 1/5 is 20%. This is what has been levied by the ancient kingdom. And then in Persia, Zarathustra, in the book, the sacred book called Avesta, they have been telling that Persians need not pay any tax. This is something, a great finding, which I was able to discover through reading their book. So Avesta book claims that Persians need not pay, but non-Persians living in the country has to pay. That's how Egypt became the first country to impose taxation. Though the pioneers were China, the first country to impose taxation was Egypt. So now, looking from the history, it is understood on average, the kings were levying the tax to their subjects between 0 to 15 to 16%, the maximum. Whereas now, in the year 2021, if I was doing an entire study, how much tax has been presently on average, I was able to find between 25 to 40% tax has been levied. It's a direct taxation. I'm not telling about indirect taxation. The direct taxation is 25 to 40% is being levied to the public. So around like 16,235 papers have been produced on taxation. I took this data from Elsewhere database last year. So the complete understanding is, on an average, there is an almost like 50 to 60% increase in income tax rates from the old kingdom period, kingdom dynasties, and then the present government, electoral political government. So now, what is the effect of the entire study here? And I've got some more industry facts. I've got like 5 quick snapshots to explain. The first one is to tell about the present income tax situation, income tax rates. So the Sweden is a country which is charging like 57.19%, highest income tax rate is being charged by Sweden. And then among the developed countries, the lowest is Germany, which has been charging 45% as the income tax. So which is very huge. 45% means the earning is $100 and then the person pays income tax 45%. So what he takes back is only like 55% he takes back, but still the government is able to give them many benefits like medical and then education. All insurance is being covered, but still 55% is only his earning. 40% goes to the government in Germany. And then we have got something called Laffer curve. When we do any experiment or research about taxation, we cannot skip Laffer curve. Laffer curve is one of the most familiar study in taxation, which says about, if you can notice here, this y-axis says about the tax rate, and then this x says about the tax revenue. When the tax revenue and the tax rate is 0% is absolutely fine. When the tax rate increases to an extent, tax revenue also increases, which is acceptable. When the tax rate increases, when people, when we charge more tax, of course our revenue also increases. But there is a point over here. Beyond 60%, when the tax increases, the tax revenue decreases. That means when I pay more tax, when I'm being asked to pay more tax, at one point of time, I stop paying the tax. This is where the, like parallel economy, the black economy comes inside. When the government is saying to pay 25%, I pay. But when the government says pay 60% tax, pay like 45% of tax, income tax, I start manipulating my accounts. I start completely giving a wrong false information using all my legal intellectual capabilities, and then I give wrong information. A kind of an black economy starts from there. So this is the Laffer curve. This what says at one point of time when the tax increases, there's a period cutoff. After this point of time, there might be a decrease in tax revenue. That's a very strange point which has been found in Laffer curve. And then there is a tax-free countries as of now. We have got developed countries, certain countries like Bahrain. I'm not very sure they are developed countries, but they are considered as one of the top countries. Like Qatar is one of the richest country in the world. So they have got like 0% of income tax. And then Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, all the Middle East and GCC countries are like having 0. Maybe they are following Islamic banking concept, but still there is a kind of very low, maybe zero is mentioned here, but I was able to find at least it is 0 to 5%, very less income tax is being levied to the people. And the fourth chart is to tell about the present economic condition in the world. So the leading GDP, the gross domestic product leading GDP is United States, which has got 22.67 trillion, and then the top 10 is the last 10 is Korea, which has got like 1.80 trillion. This is just to show the economic situation of each and every country, the top 10 countries. And then we have got the fifth chart telling about the exact situation on tax rate versus the economy, that is quantity demanded. So when I increase my tax, when my tax is at P0, my quantity demanded is Q2. That is, it is okay, it is reasonable. When I increase my tax to P1, again if I increase my tax, my demand is increasing. Fair enough. But at one point of time, if I more increase my tax, my quantity demand comes back to Q2. So this is very strange. So, extreme cuts or hikes in taxation has a major impact in the economy is what it describes. When it is P0 or P1, it is absolutely fine. But when it goes to P2, that is when it still increases, the demand comes down. So there is an effect for sure between the tax and the economy. And this is all about the global perspective. For Malaysia, this is the fact which I was able to get from Department of Statistics. So now this report is basically, this particular chart says about the income tax rate, and then this chart says about the economic condition. The economic condition is from 2017, whereas I have taken the income tax slab from 2004. But let us focus from 2015. 2015, if you're able to notice, there is a very inclining income tax rates. From 25% as a kind of a benchmark, from there the government has been imposing income tax rate, has been increasing, and it has come to 2021 30%. So it has been increasing. Whereas if I notice how 2015 2000 how it is, if I notice this period, it is declining. So now it's very evident when there is a tax increasing, tax increases, economy decreases. Economy in sense like GDP decreases is what has been able to find. So now, of course, it's very logical to understand now, there is a relationship between them, but the question is about what is the effect. So is there any correlation between them? Yes or no? Of course, this is not our main motto of the research. The entire presentation, what my entire research, what I was trying to do is not to find yes or no, not to find whether there is an effect or not, but what is the effect? What is the effect of tax rate, income tax changes on economic development? What is the impact of it is my entire motive. So this research is not focused to answer this question, because when I was presenting this particular thesis to many of the conferences, the main question is, it's a logical to understand. Of course, there is a change affected because due to the income tax rates, but that's not the motive. Motive here is to find the impact of, if it is yes, how much it is, if it is no, why is it. But we all know that the answer is not no, answer is yes. There is a correlation, but we have to find the effect of it. There comes my problem statement, the crucial part of my entire research. So the problem statement, if you can notice here, I have put a citation, I put a reference report from Tax Policy Center from Brookings, which I have taken recently, which clearly indicates that tax cuts will always boost the economy. The tax cut will boost the economy. What happens is, the more and more I have a tax cut, I will be able to save. I will be able to invest. So I have got some more savings. If I have got more savings, there is a probability that I can invest more. So now tax cut will always lead to, for me to motivate my investments and then motivate my savings. But however, majority of the countries, as I mentioned in the board, majority of countries have increased the tax and subsequently witnessed the economic downturn. So there is a kind of an conspiracy here. In spite of knowing tax cuts will improve the economy, why is the government imposing very tax hikes? We have got no idea, but there could be some reason. The government is not run by just by people. It has been run by economists. It has been run by intellectual people. So they have been increasing the tax. The tax has been increasing, and then subsequently there is an economic downturn. I have just shown you the Malaysian fact. When the tax has been increasing, the economy has been down. For I am not touching about 2021, because 2020, 2021 is all about the COVID impact. So let us stop till 2019. So when we take from 2019, there is a very evident fact. Whenever there is a tax inclination increasing, when the tax increases, there is always a decrease in economy. So this is the entire problem statement. Why? What is the impact of it? Majority of countries have increased the tax, and subsequently they have witnessed a downturn. So this research we are trying to find what is the reason for it, and what is the effect of income tax changes on the economic growth. That's the entire problem statement here. Based on the problem statement, this is the objective which I have kept in my as a prime motive. So my RO1 is to investigate the correlation in Malaysia, not globally. So in Malaysia, how is the income tax rate affecting the economic growth? And then my RO2 is to just to say, plan about how globally it can affect. And RO3 is to comprehend whether tax policies play any role in economic choices. So now tax policies, the reason I've taken is I would like to know whether tax policies play a role as a moderator mediator. So for this reason, I have kept my objective tax policies. What is its role? What people think about tax policies. And then my fourth is there is a kind of a conceived opinion that people think taxes are very harmful to the nation. Like what I'm telling over here is based on facts and figures. It is not my opinion, but there are some kind of articles and then many news report comes, which says that taxes are based upon the more and more tax is very harmful to the country. So these are kind of conceived opinion. So now for this particular, I would like to interview the tax regulators, and then I would like to see the policy makers. So it's a qualitative sort of an method. So it can't be asked through a questionnaire. It has to go through a qualitative mode. That is why the RO4 is focusing on the qualitative, and RO5 is to analyze between 2012 2019. As I told you a few minutes back, I am not keeping 2020, 2021. The reason being is these 2 years we have been affected by the pandemic, so it won't be wise or fair for the research to consider them. So the reports have been taken only from 2012 and then 2019. So these 5 objectives synchronized with the research questions, which has been kept as my main motive to carry on the research. And my literature, I have reviewed so far 69 literatures. Among them, 7 is being displayed over here. Only I would like to quickly move on from here. The main focus of all the scholars which have been telling about the one common point is whenever there is an increase in the tax rate, the economy is always dipping. It has been said, the first one, Edgar Fedre in 2021, he has been pointing out in academic research. He says that reducing the corporate income tax by 1% will rise the annual growth by 0.1 to 0.2 points. So it's very evident, and similarly every literature, every author says the same thing. Jens Arnold and Yang Li has told about Malaysia and Singapore particularly, a very contradictory. He says that lowering income tax rises 3% of tax revenue. Lowering income tax will rise the tax revenue by 1%. It is very strange. This article was like very contradictory from entire study. So if I reduce the tax rate, tax revenue can increase. Obviously, when we reduce the tax rate, the tax revenue should dip. But he says he has a finding, he has a very legitimate proof that whenever there is a tax, tax cut has been happening, there is an increase in the tax revenue. So this is a very big study. So I have got 69 literatures. It is all in my thesis. The 7 is being displayed here. And my underpinning theory, I have taken optimal tax theory, which is also called as a theory of optimal taxation, which mainly says about the implementing and designing of the taxation which can maximize the social welfare. So now because of my taxation, how my society, how my well-being, how my society, people can be having a maximum sort of a lifestyle, improvising the lifestyle or maximizing the social welfare. So if you see the theoretical framework mentioned, this has been popularized by Manvik in the year 1999, Manvik et al. So now they have said that again there is a kind of a graph which very clearly indicates that when the tax rate is 0%, the purchasing power is very minimal. When I increase my tax rate at one point of time, there is an optimal tax rate, there is more purchasing power has been there. But still if I increase the tax rate, the purchasing power decreases. So the more and more I increase the tax rate, when the government levies more tax rate, individually I get affected, my purchasing power also get reduced. So based on this theory, I have got 3 important elements, I could say independent variables like tax reforms, financing, and lowering tax rates. So these three variables I have taken from this particular theory. Based on this, I have devised the conceptual framework. The conceptual framework, I've got three independent variables. These three independent variables are taken from the optimal taxation theory, not the exact phrases, but I have paraphrased the terminologies, and I have taken these three, and I have taken two mediators. Mediators are my novelty. Mediators and moderator is my novelty. If you notice it, the banking policy is what I have kept in RO3. My research objective is to find the moderator value. So this is my moderator and then this is my mediator. I've got two mediators, and among this, national budget is mediating between the three variables, whereas base broadening is mediating only with the tax reforms. So this is not a common mediator, it is going individually. So I've got these three independent variables testing with economic growth through national budget, and then tax reforms I'm checking with base broadening, and then central bank policies I'm not checking with financing or tax reforms, I'm moderating, because central bank policy, usually bank policies can amplify the economic growth. That's the reason why it has been considered as moderator, and then I have chosen it to check with lowering income tax as H6. So today I have got hypothesis 6, I have 8 hypotheses. Now this might be right or wrong, so we have to ask the respondent. So I have hypothesized. So we have got 8 hypotheses. The entire research is to find the result of this particular hypothesis. And coming to methodology, I've got research type is exploratory. As I told you in my first case, it is an investigative research. So we are not trying to explain or describe any fact. We are trying to explore. We are trying to identify and comprehend. So it's an exploratory research. And then the design is retrospective, prospective. We are comparing the old regime and then the new tax policies. So it's like studying about the history to decide about the future. Retrospective, prospective, and then research method is concurrent mixed method mode. The concurrent mixed method mode is to do simultaneously. If it is a sequential mixed method mode, I do quantitative, then I do qualitative. But in this research, I have done together simultaneously together. That is called concurrent mixed method mode. And then the sampling technique is stratified random sampling. So strata, I have taken 3 strata I have considered. 3 stratas are like economist, central bank employees, and taxpayers. Now all these are taxpayers. If there is a question for me to answer, like do economists is not taxpayer? Do you think central bank employees are not taxpayer? Of course, everybody are taxpayers, but I'm trying to classify because this research can be answered also by economists. So particularly, I have met some economists. I have met some central bank employees in Malaysia. We got Bank Negara. I met few employees over there, and I have taken some inputs from them. And then, of course, I have taken large number of public, which are taxpayers. And my sample size, target population of Malaysia is 33 million. So among them, the taxpayers, LHDN report says 2019, 1.02 people are paying taxes. And going through Creighton Morgan table, 1 million is 384. So I have taken my sample size as 384, exactly 384. So my data analysis is done through SmartPayLS. So I have given the credit to the founders of SmartPayLS here. So I have done multivariate analysis, that is measurement model and structural model. This is not an analytical research. This is an experiment. This is a kind of an exploratory research, investigative research. So I haven't gone depth in analysis, but I have covered the multivariate partial least square and structural equation modeling. So now liability, discriminability, R square, mediation, moderation hypothesis been covered, and I am keeping it very precise. This is my focus on analysis, and my Cronbach alpha, according to the threshold, it has to be like greater than 0.70. It has been there. Reliability says about the consistency of my instrument, it has been consistent. All the data has been above 0.70. Threshold has been adhered, and then composite reliability is as equal. And average variance discriminant excited is all about convergent validity. It is also above 0.85, so it has also been significant. And my discriminant validity should be above 0.85. It has also been there. So all my instrument is having accuracy. This says about the accuracy of my instrument. There is no any redundancy of my question, which has also been very significant. My R square is about the impact of dependent variable explained by the independent variables. So what is the role of DV affected due to independent variables? So it's only economic growth is my dependent variable, base broadening is my mediator, and national budget is my mediator. So the role again, it is like above 0. So it is like significantly moderating. So it's like 0.85 above. So there is a very significance in R square. And then my mediation, the indirect effect among 4, I have got my tax reforms through national budget. Economic growth has been negative because the p-value is more than 0.05. The threshold is, it should be lesser than 0.05, and then the t-status should be greater than 1.96. But this tax reforms has been negative because there is a reason why respondents have not agreed to tax reforms, but other finance and then tax reforms and then lowering income taxes, they have been giving a very strong mediation proofs, but for tax reforms they have not been accepting it. I will explain you through this during the limitation slide. I will explain why is it, but the value is above 0.05, so it's not been accepted. So this particular 1 minute has been negative. And then my moderation is by using the bank policies, central bank policies. It's been absolutely significant. I've used my slope analysis. So if you can see the green and then the blue, it's been very evident. That is like standard deviation when it has been lesser, how was it, and then if it is more, how was it. So it has been very practically, it has been evidently found that moderation analysis has been very significant, and then central bank policies plays a very strong role to amplify the economic growth is what it says. So it is because even p-value should be lesser than 0.05 for moderate analysis. So there's also been very significant. So I would like to summarize my analysis is on line with what has been required. So my hypothesis testing. So except one particular hypothesis, everything has been positive. The tax reforms, H4. So I will explain this now. This particular tax reforms through national budget economic growth, that is H4 has been negative. So if the reason why my respondents would have said, because this is not my opinion, this is from respondents' opinion. So I have no authority or rights to manipulate the data or to go and question them why. I am just submitting the fact what has been given and then I have been presenting over here. So the tax reforms has been not accepted national budget because people think a tax reform cannot go through budget every year. A budget happens every year. Every year the government defends the budget. Maybe the respondents would have felt a tax reform should be a structural tax reform, and then it should be in white document, should be at least for 5-year planning, like Malaysia has got 2020 vision planning, 2030 vision planning, 2050 vision planning. So it should be a very consistent document. A tax reform cannot happen every year because budget happens every year. Financing should happen every year. Lowering of income tax also, it can happen every year. It's fine, it can fluctuate. But tax reforms is a very structural thing. Maybe that is the reason why people did not agree for this particular point, that is tax reform cannot mediate national budget to achieve economic growth. That is my opinion why I felt. If there is any more thing which we can discuss, we will do in the Q&A session. But the whole idea is everything has been accepted except tax reform because people consider tax reforms should be as in 5-year planning rather being like every year changing in the budget. That is the reason why this hypothesis H4 has become negative, rest is all being positive. And my main research finding, the tax cut offers the potential rise to economic growth. That answers my entire research question, my research objective and my title as well. What is the effect? The effect is very positive. There is a potential rise in economic growth. So if you're able to see the plotted diagram over here, I found majority of the people are above the fettered value. So yes, there is an increasing in the kind of economic growth by the tax rate. So if the tax rate is being cut, if there is a lesser tax rate, the economy always booms up, it boosts up. So there is a potential to rise. Both changes in level of revenues and changes in structural taxation can influence economic activity. So that is my main research finding. And then I've got my two contributions like theoretical and practical. Theoretical contribution is all about what this particular research can submit to the literature's existing literature. So adding with the Ramsey model and then adding with the optimal tax theory model. Ramsey model is in my thesis. So now tax theory and then this Ramsey model combined, blended along with the many literatures, whatever I have gone through to 16 literatures, I have come up with a new conceptual framework. So this framework has not been anywhere else. It's a unique framework designed and constructed for this particular research. This could be tomorrow, it could be an theory for the future researchers. So there is my theoretical contribution through my research, and practical contribution is if the government is following my recommendation, my findings, whatever has been submitted, the policy makers, not the government, the policy makers, there are probabilities that there could be a very significant growth in economy. That is my practical contribution. And the crucial part of my entire research now is on philosophy. So philosophy, we have got ontology and epistemology. Philosophy, ontology says about the reality, epistemology says about the knowledge of the reality. So here, since it is not only because of the mixed mode, the reality is like people always debate on the reality, and also at the same time it has to be measured by a tool. So combining this, it becomes a pragmatism research, a pragmatism philosophy. If it is a positivism philosophy, it is only quantitative where the reality is being focused. If it is like interpretivism, it is only on the qualitative study where the tools have been measured. But here's a combination of the reality is being debated. At the same time, there is required a tool to measure this reality. The reality. So this is a pragmatism research, and then John Dewey and then Charles Sanders, the forefathers of pragmatism research, says that anything useful will be good and anything good will be useful. This is my entire finding of the whole research, I would say. Not the finding, it's a philosophy of the PhD I would like to submit here. So anything useful will be good and then anything good will be useful is the philosophy, is the moral of the entire research. So the pragmatism approach is being adhered in this particular research to deliberate the research philosophy. And the recommendation, so these recommendations are not my opinion, it is based on the research. So recommendation number 1 is taken from item number 3 of section A in questionnaire. In the questionnaires can be found in my thesis. And the tax cut offers the potential to rise economic growth, improving the incentive to work, save and invest. That means that I would be able to save and invest more if there is a kind of a proper tax cut is being given, income tax cut is being given. If there is another tax cut, I will be able to save more. And then number 2 is quite contradictory. Tax cuts as a standalone policy may typically rise the federal budget deficit. It says that if it is a standalone policy, it might be increasing the federal deficit. So if federal deficit being increased, automatically there will be a negative impact on the investment. So there is a contradictory. So tax cuts should not be standalone, it should be part of the entire system. And then the effects of tax income tax reform may not help the boost economy directly, but it might provoke the market sentiment. That is the reason why the p-value was higher for the tax reforms through national budget economic growth. So these are the main 3 recommendations which I am submitting. And limitation is data collection was only in Malaysia, it was not done globally. And then the period of evaluation was 2012-2019. So only 7 years we have been considered for getting the data. Majority respondent were taxpayers, tax regulators were not being involved much because nobody were willing to give a confidential information. But still there were some bank employees, central bank employees, where I would pull them inside to participate in data collection. But tax regulators could have been much better. Budget constraints, since it is only 1%, and then there was a kind of an financial constraint. So the access to the documents from the World Bank, from IMF was quite near to the impossible. So only the free documents were being able to access. That is one of the main limitations which I found in this research. And then the formative modeling, only reflective modeling is being used. So the future researchers can use formative modeling. So these are the future scope. So I have used SmartPLS 3.3. The future people can use either R or Python to do an extensive research, because only this research was having only multivariate analysis. If any further studies has to be done, they could be doing the other softwares to get the analysis done. And then the focus on qualitative could be very much wise, because interviews can give more anonymous facts. Since I was doing like mixed mode, there was only less people taken considered for qualitative, only maximum were taken for quantitative. And then data was collected only in ASEAN and SADC and EU, etc. It was not to entire globe. The American content was completely been untouched. The entire world speaks about America and federal banks, all those things. So it has not been touched. So these are the future scopes. Future researchers can consider these points to develop their research. Conclusion, I would like to say that tax cuts has a very strong impact on the economy, and then it will be boosting the economy. But these are all theoretically been uncertain, but practically it has been proved. I have shown you many evidence, and my research has been very clear, very evident. It is not in one man's opinion. There are many literatures, many supporting literatures. It is time for policymakers to adhere and then to investigate the reason why the tax cut has not been happening. Only tax hikes has been happening nowadays. Why it has not been happening? It has to be a real thing to be discussed. As a researcher, I have drawn my line as a jurisdiction to submit this research to policymakers. From there it goes on. So thanking you, and these are my publications which I have done in Scopus journals in Q1, and then in Springer, and then in few in Q2 journals. So thank you for listening the entire presentation, entire defense of mine. I look forward for any suggestions or any kind of comments. I will be very glad to take it as a corrections. Thanking you everyone, thanking my entire team, and then my people who have supported me, and then my university, and then my center, my faculty. Thanks to all. Thanking panel. I look forward for the question answer session now. Thank you. That's it. So once I'm done with the presentation, my examiners will shoot questions to me. This is called as a Q&A session. In my next video, I will try to bring some examiners who can question me, and then you can see how I defend. Q&A session is quite complicated. I am not able to merge Q&A session and Viva in one particular video because the time might be more. So I have broken into two parts. So this video is only on presentation. In my next video, I will exclusively focus how to face Q&A session. If you are interested in getting these formats of the slide, it's available in my book. My book name is called Fundamental of Thesis. It's available in Amazon, in Shopee and leading bookstores. Please keep following my channel. I am just not interested only in increasing my views or subscribers. Even any one of you finds it useful through my videos or my lecture, my objective is done. So thanking you all. See you soon in my next video. Thank you.